Healing Center since 2017. And when you walk into this place, there's like two sides to this building. It's a pretty big place, but we have, it's a holistic health center. Oftentimes people ask me if Gilead is a church. Gilead is not a church. It's a healing center. It's called Gilead Healing Center. Yes? So we have a physician here, Dr. Nebling. I don't think he's here tonight, but Dr. Nebling has an office here. We also have Dr. Denise, also known as my wife. She's the boss right there. Dr. Denise is a chiropractor here. We also have a nutritionist, Helena. She's not here right now. I don't see her. We also have massage therapists. We have a few of them. We also have Christian counselors. We have a prayer team. We do healing events here on a quarterly basis. On a monthly basis, there's men's prayer here the first Saturday of the month. And there's probably more things that I forgot, but here you go. You have it. We do classes on a monthly basis. We do the dinner with the doc every 2 months. We have nutrition class on a monthly basis here. So if you've never been here, you can go on our webpage and you'll be able to see all of that. And if you have any interest in health and wellness, here we go. You have it. We have all of it. A lot of people talk about spirit, mind, body healing, but not many people will have the application of it. So that's what I love about this place, is the application of like, what does it look like to have a healing journey in the soul, and then a healing journey, a spiritual healing journey, and then a body healing journey, and what that means in every circles. We're not going to teach that tonight, but just thought I'd give you a heads up. Fair enough? Yes or yes? The answer is yes. That was good. I'm going to ask you some, well, just to make sure that we have the right information for the right people. How many of you here have like shoulder problems? 1, 2 people. The rest of you, 3. But it's only on one side for this guy, so he's got a second shoulder. Okay, so now check this out. I'm going to have you raise your hand. When I say raise your hand, don't do this. Only if you have a frozen shoulder, you can do that. If I say raise your hand, you go like this. Are you with me? Because there's always a few of them. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, that just doesn't work. It's like that. So we're going to start this. Are you ready? So how many of you here know somebody, either you or somebody that you know that has been dealing with some sort of heart disease? How many of you? By a show of hands. And I want you to keep your hands up. And then after that, I'm going to ask you the next question. The next question is, how many of you here know somebody, either you or somebody that you know has been affected by cancer? How many of you know somebody, or somebody that you know, or maybe it's you? Right? How many of you here know somebody? Now you're going to have to stand up, that you know somebody, either yourself, somebody that you know that has, issues with diabetes. How many of you? You can go ahead. If both of your hands are up, you got to stand up. So my question to you tonight, right? This is the question here for the next 45 minutes or so, is if I say to you, hey, you know what? One is enough is enough. Think about that for a minute. Those are all chronic illnesses. Those are all diseases that people can avoid if they choose to, right? But yet we are plagued by those chronic illnesses. Is that fair? Does that make sense? So in the next 45 minutes or so, you can go ahead and have a seat now, because you're way too good of obedient here. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to stay up like this all day until he tells me to sit down or to just bring my arms down. Okay. You did good. This is a good start. So what I was about to say is, over the next little while, right, probably 40 minutes or so together, I'm going to do a lot of yelling. I'm going to do a lot of you participating, because you're not going to have a choice, because I'll be looking at you until you do it. Anyway, but the goal here is to get you engaged through this process, right? Research shows that in 90 days from now, if you engage through this process here tonight with me, you're going to remember 70% of it. Now, there's probably things that you don't want to remember, but I promise you there's things that you will want to remember. That's the reason why I want you to be engaged into this process. So over the next 45 minutes, you'll discover the most powerful, the most effective, the most natural way to be healthy and to stay healthy while minimizing the deadly effect of chronic illnesses. Things like heart disease or cancer or diabetes or being overweight, having problems with metabolic, issues that people have. And then also to give you the opportunity to be like, hey, what can I do about it? Does that sound fair? How many of you here have ever read a great book, but yet great information in the book, you intended to do something with the information, but yet it's still on the night table? How many of you? Am I the only one? The rest of you are just lying or what? right? A lot of you. So tonight here, the goal, this is my goal, is to be like, hey, not just like leaving this place, say, Dr. Jean-Guy, give me great information, but I want you to do something with it. Because if you do nothing about it, it's not going to serve anybody. And it's certainly not going to serve you. Now, for some reason, maybe somebody forced you to be here. Maybe they paid you to be here. Maybe you're like, you decided to be here. And this has something to do with, I want to talk to you about people being, I guess, I want to talk about your health, or maybe the lack of, or maybe the people that are around you. This is called the paradigm of health. And what that means is tonight I want to talk to you about what does that mean for people to be healthy. So a lot of people talk about it, but what does that really mean though? Now, some of you are here and I know you and I know your name and I know a lot about you. And you might be like, hey, I've heard this before. And my question to you personally is I want you to be thinking, to be like, yeah, but how am I applying this into my life right now? There's two kinds of people that go to the gym. Some of you have heard this before, but there's some people, they just read the paper for an hour and then they go take a shower. They do that at the gym, in case you did not know. It's called a corporate wellness membership. And then after an hour of reading, they just take a shower and they go to work, right? And they tell everybody they were at the gym this morning. And then the other people, they actually put their shorts on and they actually work out. Who do you think in the next 90 days is going to get the most out of it, the A or B? Obviously, it's the people that have worked out. You follow me? You guys are going to be the people working out. You follow me? None of this would make any sense to you, because I'm going to get really excited in a minute and you're going to be like, is he angry or he's excited? And I just want you to know why. Right? I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada, which is about 630 miles east from here. Most people, when I say Canada, they think it's the North Pole, but really it's not. Montreal is east, more east than north. You follow me? And I grew up on a farm, and back in the days, it was about 200 acres, and by all standard, it was a pretty big farm. Today, it would be like nothing because, most farms are like thousands of acres. And my mom and my dad, they were farmers. Their parents were farmers. Their parents' parents were farmers. Everybody were farmers back in the days. And when my mother married my dad, by all standards, she was young. She was 17 years old at the time. My father was 22 years old. And when they married, my mom did not know that my dad had a problem with his health. And quickly, after they got married, my mom found my dad on the ground one day, and she thought he was dead. She didn't know what was going on with him, and she rushed him to the hospital. And by the time they got him to the hospital, right, my father was in a deep coma. And my mom did not have a clue because she didn't know why. And come to find out that my father was a diabetic. And 48 hours later, by God's grace, he came out of the hospital, right? And they told him that he was a diabetic. And they also told him that for the rest of his life, he's going to have to give himself a shot of insulin. And at the age of 22 years old, my father started to do that every morning at 6 a.m., would give himself a shot of insulin. My dad was also a smoker. He smoked 100 cigarettes a day. 4 packs a day, every single day, never miss. Basically started in the morning until he hit the pillow at night, did that every day, just like clockwork. By the time my father was 30 years old, he developed this condition called peripheral neuropathy. Now, if you don't know that smoking is a bad combination with circulation, and then if you have diabetes and you don't monitor your diabetes, the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to have this thing called peripheral neuropathy. And that's what happened to my dad. He was 30 years old, and from his knees down, he could not feel his legs whatsoever. You could literally take a knife and just jab him in his legs, and my dad would be bleeding. He didn't even know what was happening. By the time my father was 35 years old, he was 3/4 blind. And the reason why I remember that very clearly is he would come in the bedroom. I was like 5 years old or less at the time, at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and he would say, "Son, it's time to get up." And of course, as you can imagine, I was really excited about that, right? It's 4:30 a.m. and I'm like, "What for?" And he would say to me, "Listen, you're going to be driving the tractor. I'm going to tell you where to go, and I'll be standing right next to you because I can't see." In less than 12 months, my father was 36 years old at the time. He was completely blind. And by the time he got to be completely 100% blind, right, he couldn't work anymore. And his self-worth was into work. And then what happened is he got depressed. And then he lost 40 pounds really quickly, just like that. And then what happened is he was really skinny, he was blind, and then he was confined to the house. And by the time he was confined to the house, not only he was confined to the house, but he was in bed all day long. And when you're in bed all day long and you're 100 and some pounds and you move from one side to the other, then the next thing that happened is you're going to have some bed sores. And that's what happened to my dad. So he started to develop those bed sores. When they first started, they were about the size of a quarter. In a matter of 6 months, the bed sores were about this big around. You could literally see every single layer of the flesh all the way down to the bone. And the doctor would come in once a week with his little black bag, which they don't do much of that anymore, but he would come in and he would go right into the bedroom. By the time he got into the bedroom, all of us 5 kids would go around the bed to watch. And then the doctor would be taking this little piece of gauze off of his hip because it was taped there. And when they would remove that piece of gauze there, as he's removing it, you can see all those yellow string because it's infected. And then the doctor would clean that up, would put some new ointment until the next visit, put a brand new piece of gauze there and tape until the next week. My dad turned to be 40 years old. This was July 12, 1982. And at the age of 40, as you can imagine, he was not doing a whole lot. He'd be in bed about 20 hours a day, and then he would come into the living room, and then somebody would spoon feed him. My older sisters would do that. My mom would do that. Once in a while, I'd do that myself with him. And then he would go right back to bed. And then what happened is 3 months later, this was September 14, one day, he wasn't feeling well, and so my mom called the ambulance. And when she called the ambulance, the 2 paramedics comes in, and we're standing on the main floor, and the 2 paramedics goes up the stairs. They have the stretcher in their hands, and they roll him in, and they take the stretcher, and they go right into the bedroom. And by the time they got into the bedroom, they did their assessment on my dad, and then they looked back at my mom right out that door, and they told my dad, they're like, listen, we need to take him in. So my mom was like, whatever you need to do, you guys do it. So they load him up on the stretcher. They roll up my dad out of the door, right? As they're rolling him out, the 2 paramedics are there with the stretcher, and I got my 2 brothers next to me. I got my 2 sisters next to me. I'm 9 years old at the time. My mother is right there in the corner, and I asked my mom, I said, where are they taking Dad? And I asked her again, I said, where are they taking him? And my mom never answered. And here's what happened when I was 9 years old, right? What happened is, what I realized is, being a good provider is not the most important thing. There's many of you here, you're sitting here tonight and you're like, hey, I got to provide for my family. And I don't disagree with that. But I want you to be thinking to yourself right now, if I want to provide for my family, but yet I don't have my health, would you be able to do that? And what I realized at 9 years old is, I realized this, that, when people lose their health, they don't know how to get it back. And when they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. So I want you to think here, and I want you to understand, to say to you right now, if I ask you this simple question, to say, hey, do we live in a healthy country? What would you say? Even when people don't know much about health, the first thing that comes out of people's mouth, they're like, nah, we don't do so hot. And then if I say to you, why do you think that is? There's lots of different reasons, but I'm going to give you a few stats. There's probably 1 or 2 here that likes numbers, so I'll give you some numbers. According to the CDC this was 2022, there's short of 1 million people, 800,000 people died from heart disease and stroke every year, which is short of 1 million. There's 600,000 people that die from cancer every year. Year after year after year, there's 1.5 million people that are diagnosed with cancer every single year after year after year, right? This never stops. There's just more of it. And then number 3 on the list, there's 38 million people that have diabetes in this country. There's 97 million people that are pre-diabetic. They haven't been diagnosed yet. Either they haven't gone to the doctor, or they have, or they are in denial. And then there's 42% of this country right now, as we speak right now, that are considered to be obese. Back when I used to teach this class 20 plus years ago, it was less than 20%. Now we're not talking about being overweight, carrying a few extra pounds. We're talking about 42% of people that are obese. There's over 70%, close to 75% now in this country, in the United States of America, that people are overweight. You follow me, right? So when I say, hey, do you think we're healthy? Out of 40 industrialized countries, we're ranked number 37. So we're the country that has the most money, the best doctor, the best nurse, the best hospital, the best of everything, but yet our health sucks. Do you follow that? Right? Did you know that, for female, if you look statistically for female above the age of 40 years old, for female in this country right now as we speak, 25% of the women in this country are on some kind of psychotropic medication. Think about that for a minute. Right? So the question is, that was the first question. The second question is, why do you think that is? I want you to give me a few answers. Who's going to be first? I'm not here. I'm not answering the phone right now. Okay? Who's going to tell me why? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that this country we're not that healthy? Why is that? Who can tell me? Go ahead. We prefer. Yeah, I like that. What else? Tell me more. Go ahead. Yeah. It's hard to do the healthier stuff. Yeah. And it's more expensive to do the healthier stuff, and they make it more convenient to be unhealthy. What else? One more before I jump in.
Advertising, commercialism.
Advertising, yeah, for sure. There's two main things in my professional opinion. Number one is accountability. I want you to hear me tonight. This is really important. Because you're never going to change. We are never going to change the way we behave if we're not accountable. If I ask any of you here tonight, say, who do you think is responsible for your health? What would you say? Yeah, you'd be like, yeah, that's me. I'm responsible for my health. But yet, now listen, if you don't feel good and the first thing that you do, you're like, hey, you know what? If I'm sick, I'm just going to go to the doctor. He's going to give me a pill. Do you understand that that's not being accountable for your health? Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm about to say something that some of you might not like, but people are like, hey, is my insurance going to pay for that? My answer, which I keep it to myself, but my answer in my mind is like, do you think your insurance company cares for you? Do you think they give a crap about you? Just so you know, they don't. They're for profit. They're there to make money. They're not there for you to be healthy. In case you did not know that. Right? So we need to be accountable for our health. Number two is we need to have the right information. Is that important, having the right information? Now, all of you here, it sounds like you made it through COVID. Was this a confusion time? Was it confusion time? For most people, it was. Let's pretend right now that you have like a map in your hands. It's the map of Michigan. It was just printed today. It's brand new. We know it's correct. It's brand new, right? The map is brand new. But yet you're in the middle of New York City and you try to use that map to make your way around. Is that going to work well for you? Yes or no? You could have the best map, but if you're in the wrong place, it just doesn't match. Back in the 50s, they've done this heart study. It's called the Framingham Heart Study. You can go look this up. And what they found is that for many years, they study people, and they wanted to find out, why do people have heart disease? And then what they found out at the end is when people had heart disease, they had one common thing, is their cholesterol was high. So from that moment on, what they've done is they're like, hey, you know what? Cholesterol is the bad guy. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that people stop eating fat. Because when you eat fat, then of course your cholesterol is going to go up. Not. Right? So now listen to me here for a minute. Since then, we've been eating less fat than ever before, but yet we've been fatter than we've ever been. Why do you think that is? Do you see how it makes no sense? If you just keep repeating a lie over and over again, people start thinking it's the truth and they just follow it. It's like me telling you tonight, every time that there's a car accident on Christ's Road, the cops are always there, so therefore it must be the cops' fault. Is it? Maybe they were just there to help. But you're right, they're always there. When a person has heart disease, of course your cholesterol is going to be high. Of course. Because when you have heart disease, you're going to have inflammation. And if you have inflammation, the body uses cholesterol to heal you. Do you follow me? So I want you to understand that you got to have the right information, right? If you don't have the right information, then guess what? Every decision you make is based on the information that you have. You follow me? So number three is there's really three different ways that three different routes that people take in life as it relates to their health. And by the time you leave, I want you to be masters of that. Because if you master the art of understanding what health is, then every decision that you make is based on how you define health. So if you define health to say, hey, you know what, Dr. Jean-Guy, I'm healthy if when I have symptoms, I'm going to go see the doctor, and the doctor is going to give me a pill for that. If the pill doesn't work, then I'm going to have surgery. We call that today, in our country, we call that today health care. It's really sick care, but we call that health care. You have high blood pressure, you go see the doctor, and then the doctor is going to give you a blood pressure pill. So therefore, your blood pressure is going to be, those numbers going to look good, and the doctor is going to say you are what? Yeah, you're doing great. Your numbers look good. But is the problem still there, though? Do you follow me? So I go see the doctor. I don't feel good. I'm depressed. I'm going to get a pill that's going to make me feel better. You're too happy. We're going to give you a pill that's going to make you, it's going to be a downer. You can't poop. We're going to give you a pill to poop. You poop too much. We're going to give you a pill to stop the poop. You follow me? So every symptoms that we have is we have a pill for it to try to manage the symptoms. And if there's no symptoms, then we're like, hey, you know what? You're doing great because there's no symptoms. And your numbers look good. But yet there's people dying every day that they have good numbers. They're still dead, right? There's plenty of people that have heart attacks, and it's been documented. They're dead in their coffin, and their cholesterol was normal. Do you follow me? So in this paradigm of health is we define health as, hey, my numbers looks good, and I don't have any symptoms. In this paradigm of health, this is paradigm number 2. Those are for people that say, hey, you know what? I really don't like pills. I don't really like doctors. I don't want to take those pills. But I'm only going to do something for moi. I'm French, just so you know. Moi means me. I'm only going to do something for me, right, if I have symptoms. And what that means is if I have a headache, I'm going to find something natural. I might go to the health food store. I might go see the chiropractor so he can just crack my neck, right? I'm going to do something that's going to get the symptoms to go away. And once they're gone, then I'm done. I'm 20 pounds overweight. I'm just going to lose the weight. I'm going to go on vacation, put my Speedo on. I'm looking good. And then I come back and I'm going to go back and eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. Yes? And I just go back to my old ways. Do you follow me? So in this paradigm of health, then what happened is people define their health, say, hey, if I don't have any symptoms, I'm doing great. How many of you here know somebody at some point in time they had cancer, they did not know they had it? You know, usually 90% of the room raised their hand. My cousin Emil, when he was 55 years old, they took blood out of him, and when they did, they found that he had kidney filtration problem. They're like, hey, no problem, I'm going to do an ultrasound of your kidney, and they did that. After the ultrasound of their kidney, they're like, we don't like what we see, we're going to do a biopsy of your kidney. After they did the biopsy, the doctor says, hey, we don't like what we saw, you have cancer. But that's no problem, I'm going to send you over to the surgeon, he's going to cut you open, going to clean you up, you should be okay. The surgeon cut him open, they started to go in there, the cancer has spread out everywhere in his body. The doctor told him, listen, we're going to sew you back up, we'll give you 6 months to live, just put all your stuff, your affairs put together. 6 months to the day he was dead. 55 years old, never missed work, wasn't sick, didn't have any symptoms, but yet 6 months later he was gone. And I promise you, I'm not the only one that has a story like that. Many of you do. You follow me, right? So could a person be not healthy even if they don't have any symptoms? Is that possible? Yes or yes? The answer is yes, no doubt about it, right? So this is paradigm of health number 1. This is paradigm of health number 2. And here, this is like the third, which is my favorite, just so you know. I'm going to give you a heads up. Because this is what I've lived for my entire life, right? It's like, what does that mean for people to be really healthy? To be truly healthy? To be on the journey to be the best version that God wants them to be, right? If I say to all of you here tonight, and just so you know, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know already. If I say to you tonight, you know, how long should you be eating well? How long should you be eating real food? What do you think? Every day. For how long?
Ever.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. This guy does not have a PhD in nutrition, but yet he knows the answer. So what happened is, when you are under the standard American diet, you have no chance. When you eat like the food pyramid tells you to eat, you have no chance. I'm reading this book on immunology right now, and this medical doctor, there, interestingly enough, he just threw out the statistic that 70% of what people eat right now in this country, it's ultra-refined processed food. 70%, 70. When people don't put, this is like food is the raw material that you build walls. You have the opportunity to build walls with cement block, or with sand. Which one do you want? She's like, that's a no-brainer. I'm not a contractor, but I know that cement blocks are better. It's called the standard American diet. So you got to eat well. You got to put food in your body. And then number 2 is you got to be moving your body. And that's something that is important, because people think that they can be sitting at a chair watching TV, moving their eyes, and that's moving. And I want you to know, even if you're watching football, it's not. It's not. I promise you it's not. Did you know that 90% of brain nutrition has to do with proper motion of your joints? I'm going to say this again. 90% of your brain nutrition, 90 of brain nutrition, of feeding your brain, has to do with proper motion of your joints. That means that if you're not moving, your brain is dying. So what do we have today? We have an epidemic of what? Of neurological disorder, like people that have dementia and early dementia and Alzheimer and Parkinson and just name it. They're all there and much more. So if you don't move well, then you're not going to do well. Because if you sit at a chair 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 25 years, or if you drive 40,000 miles a year like this guy told me today, right? That's a lot of time in the car. Do you follow me? And what happened is, when you sit and those joints are not moving, then what happened is your brain is dying. Motion is lotion. Motion is life. People have to move more. Do you follow me? So you got to eat well, you got to move well, and then you got to be thinking well. And thinking well is like, I don't want to make this real complicated tonight, but I just want you to understand that. For a long time, we have known, and you can look into this, that your brain, what you think about has everything to do with, the physiology into your body. So what that means is, if you have bad thoughts, then what you're doing is you're breaking down this machine that God is giving you. But on the flip side of that, if you're around people that loves you, if you're around people that you can love, if you're around people that you feel safe around them, and they feel safe around you, and you read a good book, right? Things that's going to fill you up instead of taking it out, people that's going to rain on your parade, this has the ability to break you. Do you follow me? Sometimes that could be even family members, right? Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like, oh yeah, maybe I have 1 or 2 in the family. But that's the truth. I promise you. So you have to think well, you have to move well, you have to eat well. And now I'm going to define to you. Ready? I'm going to define to you. According to the World Health Organization, the definition of health, it says when your body has 100% function, and then it goes on to say physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. I'm going to say this one more time. You ready? According to the World Health Organization, it says health is when you have 100% function, physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So what that means is, for you and I to be healthy is, you got to have 100% function. And if I ask all of you here tonight and say, hey, you know what? What is the master controller system of your body? Crickets? No. Here we go, but you're close, right? The brain. Did you know that when you're born, your brain is in charge of controlling, somewhere around 7 to 9 trillion cells? By the time you're an adult, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 trillion cells with a T. Your brain is in charge of controlling 70 trillion cells at any given time. So what happens is, for your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your stomach to digest food, the information has to go from your brain through your spinal cord, out the nerves, to every organ, tissue, cells in your body. How about that? Some of you here, you look like you're 12, so you might not relate. But some of you look a little bit older. How many of you here remember who Christopher Reeves, the old Superman, was? Right? When Superman, if you don't know the story, she's laughing. She's like, that's me, I'm 12. And then what happened to Christopher Reeves? Now listen to me here. I'm going to tell you the story. You know, he's riding a horse, fell off the horse, broke his neck. Yes? The following morning, he was in a what? He was in a wheelchair. Did he ever damage his arms? Did he ever damage his legs? Could he use either one of those? Yes or no? So what happened is, if your brain is trying to send this life energy through, but now it's being cut off right here, guess what's going to happen to the rest of the body? You think that body's going to be able to function properly? If your brain is in charge of sending all this life energy through, but now you only have 50% of it getting through, guess what's going to happen to those organs? Are they going to function as well? Are they going to last as long? Are they going to break down faster? And that's the reason why Christopher Reeve had a pacemaker. It was hard to beat. He had a respirator for him to be able to breathe. And he also a bag on the left side of his hip. Somebody would be pushing on his colon every single day for him to have a bowel movement. But yet, he did not have any pain. None. Do you follow me? No pain. And in less than a couple years, right, his body shut down completely. You follow that? Gone. Now I'm going to tell you more. Remember what I just said earlier? 90% of your brain nutrition has to do with proper motion of your joints. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you know which joints of your body has the greatest amount of feedback into your brain for your brain to function properly? Anybody knows? Shoulders. Ah. Eh. Ah. This is called the atlas. The atlas and the axis are the top two bones in your neck, and those top two bones, they have more mechanoreceptors per square inch than the entire body together. You follow me? Now, you don't know what mechanoreceptors means, and that doesn't mean, you don't need to know. I'm just telling you that the greatest amount of feedback in your brain has to do with the proper motion of those joints in the top two bone in your neck. You follow me? Now, what happened to Christopher Reeves is when you have this here broken and this life energy doesn't get through, or you only have 50% of it or 75%, how many of you would like to walk around like a dim light bulb? How many of you? Right? Nobody wants to sign up for that, but yet most people walk around like this because they don't know any better. Anything that has to do with focus, concentration, attention comes from that particular area right here in the top of your neck. Matter of fact, when Victoria came to the office, she's 16 years old. She comes in with her mom. She's got headaches. Lots of people come in with headaches. And I'm like, yeah, I can handle that. After we did an evaluation, we took x-rays of her, we took pictures of her posture. I report to mom and dad, and I say, hey, listen, I can help your daughter. We're 4 weeks into the treatment, doing corrective care on her, and after 4 weeks, the mother comes in and she's like, hey, Dr. Jean-Guy, can I just talk to you? When people do that, I'm like, am I in trouble? Reminds me like bad thoughts, but I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'm going to go into this back room, and she tells me, she's like, Dr. Jean-Guy, Victoria's headaches are better. But there's something else that I did not tell you when she came in. When she came in, unbeknown to you, she was diagnosed with clinical depression. And every time she'd come into the house at night, she would go right into a bedroom. She'd never come talk to us. Now we're 4 weeks into this corrective care treatment with you. Not only her headaches are better, but now she comes in the dining room and the living room and talking to us, which never happened before since she's been diagnosed with depression. Right? Think about that for a minute. Matter of fact, that made such a difference in her mom's life, right? As she's telling me this, she's crying. So this area right here, it was not just important for Christopher Reeves, for him not to be no longer with us today, but it's important for anybody. If your head is not on straight, you're in trouble, right? You're in trouble. Now, some of you might have neck pain, some of you might have a headache, but some of you might have no symptoms. That's the interesting part. And the reason for that is, let me tell you, because I'm glad you asked, I'm going to tell you. Did you know that there's 31 pairs of nerve coming out of your spine, and if you take one nerve, you blow it up, there's 9 little nerves, only 2 out of the 9 tells your brain about pain. Only 2 out of the 9 tells your brain about pain. Did you know that for a person to have symptoms, you got to go from 100% function all the way down to 60%? Do you know what that means? I want to translate to you. That means that you need to have at least 40% of sickness, death, or disease in your body before you start feeling something. Why would anybody wait until they feel bad? Do you follow me? But yet most people do that because they've been trained. Because in our healthcare system model, we're going to wait until if your blood pressure is not at 200 over 100, what are we going to do for you? Do you follow me? Right? Karen came to the office 20 plus years ago. I was young at the time. I look like this young lady here. She looks really young, right? I was brand new in practice, couple years in practice. Karen comes in Saturday morning. She's like, Dr. Janki, can you adjust me right here? And I'm like, who's the doctor? Is that me or you? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just moved in from Canada, and I've been going to the chiropractor from the time I was a little girl. And every time I have acid reflux, I get adjusted right there, and then it goes away. Now she understood. Now listen to me for a minute. If your brain, let's say some of you here, you're a foodie, like Sharon, she's a foodie, right? She likes food. Okay, check this out. So let's say here that you eat some amazing organic food. Are you ready? Let's say you eat some amazing organic food, and let's say that you have damage to your spine and nervous system, and then it's crushing the nerve going to your stomach. Guess what's going to happen to your stomach? Are your stomach going to be able to produce those digestive enzymes? Yes or no? The answer is no. Even if you eat the best food, even if it's organic. Do you understand that? But yet most people don't understand. They're like, oh, I just need organic food. I'm like, no, you don't. If you only have 50% of this life energy getting from your brain to the rest of the body, even if you eat organic food, your body is not going to be able to process because those organs are not functioning properly. Do you follow me? When Ann came to the office, she had sciatic pain, which is very common. People have got a lot of pain in the butt. Yes? Pain in the butt. You've heard of sciatic pain? Yes? Pain in the butt. I'm not talking about like your spouse. I'm just talking about like real pain. I mean, it goes all the way down your legs. Yes? So Ann comes in. She's like 60 years old. And I'm like, yeah, we can take care of that. No problem. So we take her through a process of corrective care, and she had damage to her spine and nervous system right here, right in her lower back. She's got pain in the butt. And those nerves, they travel all the way down your leg. So anything that has to do with pain, numbness, tingling, weakness, I'm like, yeah, we can help you out. After we did the evaluation, I knew I could help her. After we're done to this course of corrective care, right, she's like, yeah, she's like, it's better. I'm like, well, yeah, I told you it would be better. But then she goes on to say, she's like, hey, listen, I just want you to know that I was embarrassed to tell you, but I'm going to tell you now. I'm like, I can't wait. She's like, you know what? I used to pee my pants. Right? She's like, I don't have that anymore. Think about that for a minute. What I want you to understand is this. If you have any kind of damage into your spine and nervous system because there's stress in your life, I know you guys don't have any stress, but let's just pretend that you do, right? The stress can be physical, emotional, chemical. People are in car accident. People sit all day long for 20 years. People are just go to their work that they don't want to be there. You follow me? Any kind of stress will affect how your spine and nervous system function. And by the time you have damage to your spine and nervous system, and if it's not corrected or fully corrected, then what's going to happen is instead of walking around like a light bulb that is fully alive, 100%, you're walking around like, at the beginning, it's only 95. It's not a big deal, right? At some point in time, 24 years ago on the rooftop of this building, the air conditioning was brand new, and it was working just magnificent. But you know what? 5 years down the road, and nobody comes in and checks it out. Is this still working? The answer is yes. But does it still work like it was on the first day? Yes or no? There's no doubt that it wasn't. Just like you. So when people are like, yeah, I'm just fine. I'm just fine. I don't have any pain. I feel fine. Right? I'm like, what's that? What does that even mean? People feel fine and they bring their 8.5 by 11 pages of drugs that they take. And I feel fine. My doctor said I was fine. Do you see how it makes no sense? It's fine based on how you define health, though. But if you're truly into health and you want to be the person that God's called you to be, then you understand that that's not what true health is. Does that make sense? So I want you to understand that because that's really important. Because if you miss the point on this, you'll do like everything that you do from this point on in your life, you're going to be going in the wrong direction. Because you're not asking the right question. You ask the right question, you get the right answer. You'll be heading in the right direction. And the question is always why. You don't have headaches because there's not enough aspirin in your brain. You don't have high blood pressure because you don't have enough blood pressure pill in your bloodstream. You don't have acid reflux because there's not enough Tums in your belly. Do you see how this is silly, but yet people do it every day? They never question it. They're just like, I'm going to take the pill. And then I'm going to feel better, and then we're going to call it good. Do you see that? Do you hear me? I want to get to the cause. We want to get to the cause. That's really important. Right? So when it comes down to your health, now listen, when it comes down to your health, you can do whatever you want because that's your health. It's yours. You're in charge. You're controlling that. You're in the driver's seat. But just imagine here for a minute that you have problems and you don't do anything for the problems that you have, whether they're small, whether they're big, and you don't do anything and you wait for another month, 6 months, or a year. Do you think it's going to be better or worse? Knowing that something could have been done. Right? To some of you, it's like, hey, I just want to play with the kids, but I get home at night and I'm so pooped out, I can't do it. Some of you might be like, hey, you know what? I'd like to go to my grandkids' game, but I can't even sit on the bleacher for more than 5 minutes. Some of you, it's like, hey, listen, I don't want to go anywhere because I'm waiting for the next doctor's appointment. I'm waiting for the next surgery. I'm waiting, like I can't do anything with my spouse because I don't feel good. And all of you in here, you all have different reasons. And all those reasons are good. And guess what? If you don't have your health, you just can't do it. Right? So knowing that maybe something could have been done. And then don't be caught up into this idea. You're like, hey, I feel fine. Because too many people do that. And by the time they feel fine and they don't do anything about it, and the next thing you know, they have cancer. The next thing you know is they have heart disease. The next thing you know now, we want to have a heroic, right, solution to take care of problems. You see what I'm saying? So that's the reason why I'm here tonight before I feed you, because that's the most important part. But I just thought I'd just, I'd work you up here for a minute, right? Work you up here for a little bit. That I want to, before you get to the food part, right? We want to offer you our wellness breakthrough evaluation. Maybe some of you, you've done that already, and that's okay. But if you haven't, maybe you can jump on the opportunity to do something about it. Right? Our wellness breakthrough evaluation is what we do in our offices, whether it's here at Gilead, we have another office right in Lansing, right in Frandor, is we first and foremost, 26 years in practice, and probably one of the most important things that we do is when we get to consult with people and talk to them. Because people will tell you. They will tell you what the problem is. Sometimes they might not understand what their problem is, but they will tell you. So listening to that person, number one, and then we do an exam, right? And when we do the exam is to look at some things that nobody else has ever looked at before. Because some of you might be sitting here and say, hey, yeah, my doctor said I was fine. Let me just tell you what your doctor said and what he meant by what he said. When we look at an x-rays and the doctor looks at an x-ray, the doctor look at the x-rays, at your x-rays to find out if there's anything broken, if you have a pathology, if you have an infection. And if you don't, they're like, hey, sir, you're fine. That's not what we look at, but I guarantee you, every one of you here, if you've been to the doctor and the doctor said you're fine, that's what they looked at. Do you follow me? Right? The next thing that we do is we take pictures of people's posture. And you might be like, oh, that's pretty basic. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty basic, but yet that's pretty powerful. Why is that? I'm going to tell you something. You come into this world like this, and you leave like that, right? When people start walking around like this, right? When people have horrible posture, did you know that your posture is a window to your spine and nervous system? Any kind of postural distortion tells us that you've had prior spinal injuries that haven't been corrected or fully corrected. And then what we do is we do some advanced biomechanical spinal x-rays. And the reason why we do this is because we want to find out we're going to lift the hood, right? I can't believe when people like, you're not going to take x-rays of my back, are you? I'm like, so you're going to let somebody work on the motor, but yet you're not going to have them lift the hood. Do you understand how just ridiculous that is? Aren't you going to do that? I'm like, well, of course I'm going to do that. How are you going to see what you're working on? Because we can find out what the problem is, how long it's been there for, how much damage do you have. Can we really tell that? Yeah, you can. And then what can be done to be corrected if you want to have it corrected. And then after we do all of this, then we have a second visit. The second visit is we do the report. We do the report so we can give you the knowledge, the information. We can teach you. You can learn something maybe, right? People are like, Mama, I don't need that. Can you just crack me? I'm like, no, I don't do that. Why in the world would I do that? Cracking you is like, it's not going to do you any good, even if I can help you. Who's responsible for your health? Who should know the most about you? It's you, right? You should be telling me about you. You should be the expert about you. So we believe into making sure people understand that, right? Because you deserve it. Because you'll be in charge. When you leave this office there, you need to be in charge of you. So let's pretend here for a minute, right? You go to the hospital today. Let's pretend that you don't have any insurance, zero insurance. And let's just pretend that they do a full set of x-rays on your back because they think that there's something wrong with your back. And let's say you don't have an insurance. How much do you think they charge you for that? $400. Okay, good. Anybody else? $2,000. I want to go take x-ray at the hospital for that kind of money, but hey, that's good. I like it. Right? I always tell people, I'm like, listen, I mean, people have said like 5,000 before. I mean, I've seen bills. It was in the thousands for sure. And I always like to tell people, I'm like, hey, if it was warranted and needed, would that be okay? Yeah, this guy says yes, and I say yes too. When people come to the office, let's pretend that you don't have any insurance, you have nothing, and we're like, hey, we're going to charge you. It's $320 to do all of it. All the way down through your report of findings, right? In the midst of knowing what you're going to get for that, it's really nothing. It's like a spit in the bucket. When people are like, wow, that's a lot of money. Well, it's a lot of money to have Starbucks coffee every day and to smoke your cigarette. It's a lot of money when you have the internet for $250 a month. It's a lot of money when you go buy water every day. You follow me? We invest into what we think is important. Does that make sense? I want to change the way you think tonight. Maybe you're never going to see me again, and that's okay. I'm just telling you that I'm a little wild. I'm a little crazy. And why I'm a little crazy is because I've seen a lot of people dying right in front of me, and it makes me sick. And I'm going to tell you at the same time that we have 5 kids, and those 5 kids, the whole time they live in the house, the first 18 years of their life, they've never taken drugs. They've never had nothing but a chiropractic adjustment and some good nutrition. Yes? Maybe you don't know that, but I'm just telling you right now, for 18 years. Now, that might be lucky for one. But what about 5 of them for 18 years at a time? Is that luck, you think? Those are principle that God wants you to be healthy. Now, does emergency happen? Yeah. If you have an emergency, I'll go to the emergency room. No problem. But I want you to understand it's possible. If it's possible for me, it's possible for you. Maybe you were dragged in here tonight. Maybe you were forced. Maybe you didn't have a choice. Maybe somebody told you to be here, right? If you've never had this evaluation, hey, you know what? You have your opportunity. We do that for, when you schedule it tonight, you would do that for $69. $69, $69, all of it, all the way through the report. People always ask me at the end, how much did you say? $69. Do I need to repeat this? $69 for the whole thing, from beginning to the end, all the way through the report. You got 10 family members, no problem, it's $69. You got 2 people, it's $69. It's each, though, not for everybody, it's each. Okay, I just want to make this clear, it's each. The next thing I got to make this clear is it can be here or other office and friend door. You follow me? Yes or yes? Okay. Now, there's always somebody in the crew, in the crowd, in the crew that is asking the question like, hey, why would you do that, though? And I'm going to tell you why I do that, and then I'll let you eat. But if you don't know why, then this will make no sense. September 14, 1982. When my father left that day, right, I was 9 years old. I told you that. My brother was 8 years old. My other brother was 7. My sisters, one of them was a teenager. The other one was not a teenager yet. And then my mom, she was like 35 at the time. When my dad left, I never got to see my dad again. My father had a heart attack on his way to the hospital. And if my dad would have been sitting right here tonight 10 years prior to him dying, the chances are he would have seen me graduating. He would have seen me getting married. He would have seen my kids playing sports. He would have seen my kids' kids being born. But you know what? Nobody has ever taken the time to really tell him really what health was all about. And that's the reason why we do this. And I want you to know that. Now, some of you might be sitting here tonight. You're like, yeah, but we live longer than we've ever lived before. Let me just give you 2 words about this, and then I'm going to feed you. Right? The 2 words about lifespan is people have lifespan, but they don't have health span. Do you follow me? Right? We have lifespan, but we don't have health span. If you're drooling all over yourself in a wheelchair at the nursing home, this is not living. Do you follow me? That's the difference. Many times people don't think about that. They're like, yeah, just going to take some pills. They're going to keep me alive. I'm going to live for long. Yeah, but living long, but you don't have your health, right? You're just a burden to society. You're not a help. And back in the days when they used to move the parents back in the house, right? The parents would be like doing the laundry. They would be like feeding the kids. They would be telling stories to the grandkids, right? I mean, those guys do that right now. And they are a blessing for the people that are around them because that's what they do right now. But how many people do that now? When your parents are about to move in, you're like, oh, this is going to be a burden, not a blessing. Do you follow me? Tonight you can be one or 2 things. You can either be a cow, which, I'm not sure that some of you want to be a cow. You can be a cow or a bison, right? You can be either a cow or you can be a bison. I'm going to tell you, let me finish the story. Because you're like, what is he talking about? Where's he going with this? Right? You can either be proactive or you can be reactive. If you know anything about cows, maybe you don't. I'll tell you the cow story and the bison story. Right? The cows, when there's a storm, now check this out. When there's a storm, some of you can testify. When there's a storm, what cows going to do is they're going to be like, I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. But the storm is coming. It doesn't matter if you want to go through it or not. It's still coming. But you know what? You know what the bison's going to do? The bison's going to run right through it. Now you have the choice today, right? To either be proactive for your health. You can be the bison or you can be the cow. It's going to happen one way or the other. It's coming. But you can choose. You have the choice now, right? I like to have choices. I don't like this idea of being reactive. And why is that? Because I've seen my dad. He didn't have a choice. He had 0 choice. I don't like not having choice, and I want you to have choices, right? It's much better to invest in your health now when you're half okay than when you're 90% broken. You follow me, right? Does that make sense? I'm going to pray for the food right now. We're going to go get the food right through those doors right here. And then we're going to make a circle. So you're going to go out this way. You're going to come back this way. And there's going to be bread out there. I'm just watching you. Whoever picks the bread, it's like a test, okay? It's like a test. I'm going to judge you. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. So you're going to have food in a circle, okay? Right after I pray for you. And then as you're doing this, you'll get to ask me some question. If you don't ask me question, I'm going home. I've been at the office since 6 o'clock this morning. And if I have no question, I'm going to go take a rest. Fair enough? But if you have question, I'll be more than happy to answer your question. Now, there's probably one thing that I should answer you because there's always one person that wants to know, right? They're going to ask me the question about, but Dr. Jean-Guy, what about my insurance? And here's my answer is I don't know about your insurance. We take just about every insurance. They have to check it out. So don't ask me that question because the answer is I don't know, right? But when you call the office, you come in for your visit, they're going to check into that. Is that fair? I don't have any problem with the insurance, by the way, right? I'm just telling you that they don't care about your health. That's all I want you to know. When it's all said and done, it's better for you to invest in your health than counting on the insurance to keep you healthy because that's not what they do for a living. Does that make sense? Right? So I got away from my circle and food here, but circle this way. Pray for your food right now. Ready? Right? Okay, Father, thank you for this amazing group of people here tonight, Lord. We're just thankful and grateful. I'm thankful and grateful for everyone in this room tonight. I just pray, Lord, that seeds that were deposited, that if it's not from you, that they don't stick, but if they are from you, that they will stick and they will grow. And you're going to put in everybody's heart here tonight the desire that you have for their life and the calling that you have for them. And then understanding that unless they have their health, they won't be able to fulfill that calling, or at least they won't be able to do it as well. And we just want to say thank you for the people that have prepared this food tonight. We just pray that you bless this food that is about to nourish your body. In Jesus' name. Okay. We're ready, Dr. Nice? Okay, let's do it. We're going right this way. Out those doors. Let's do it. Because they're going to leave with the food and you're not going to have any. Mysteriously, some people are going to leave with the food. Go for it. Yeah, you just circle back around. You come back in here. Go for it. Not you, Sharon. You cannot have any food. David.
Thank you for it. You are correct and powerful.
Pat, is this still work? Oh, it's still working. Is there's anybody here that has any questions? This young lady has a question. Can we just turn down the music here so I can? You're going to ask me the question. I'll repeat the question for the other people if it's okay with you. And then I'll answer the question. Is that okay? I won't tell anybody who the question came from. Yes, I will in a minute. Go ahead. Yeah. So this young lady, her question is, can we turn down the music, please? The question is, do we prescribe people to do stretching or exercises? The answer is yes. We do a lot of complex stuff at the office, but we do simple stuff but there's a lot of complexity to movement, but yes, we do all of that. So for those of you here, while you're preparing more questions, if you have any, this is right in the middle of the table. I got in trouble while you were getting food. So I was told not to go home until I tell you about this. Because some of you might be thinking, hey, how do I schedule this appointment? Right on your table there's a QR code. You have this little laminated sheet. You can scan the QR code and you can schedule your appointment. Yes? The answer is yes. Just want to give you a heads up. When you go on the QR code, there's going to ask you to pick an office. So we have this office right here, Gilead Healing Center. We also have our other office 15 minutes down the road. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but I just want you to know that you'll have to pick an office before you can pick the appointment time. If you need to change that, that's okay. We can change the appointment time. Okay, so I'm going to answer a few more questions. Is that clear on how to do the appointment? It's clear? Crystal?
Can you describe, if we sign up, the process? We're showing up at the office, what's next?
When you show up at the office, you're going to fill out some paperwork. It's going to take, if you haven't filled it out before you come in, usually when you leave here tonight, they will give you the paperwork so you can save some time. And when you come to the office, you will be taken into a room where you're going to be meeting with the doctors. And then you will have a consultation, an examination, posture, x-rays, and then your follow-up visit, you will have a report. So the first visit will take about an hour, and the second visit will be about 45 minutes or so. And then at that time, depending what is the world's best recommendation from the doctor, you're going to get that. What they think is the best course of action to take care of the problems that you want to handle health-wise, and what's the best way to get there. And if we can't help you, then we'll just tell you we can't help you as well.
And if you don't have problems, is there a reason? Based on what you were saying earlier You have no symptoms, doesn't mean you don't have problems. I'm just trying to figure,
So are you answering your own question for me here? Because I really like it. It sounded like you got this right.
I listened to you,
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure I understood.
yeah, you did, 100%. There's wisdom into finding out if a person has cancer before they have cancer. Adult spinal deformity is a very serious thing for people to have. Most people don't know much research about the spine and the nervous system, but when you understand about spine and nervous system is as bad, if not worse, of any of the arthritis condition, heart disease, and cancer together in terms of the outcome that people have on their activity of daily living and their quality of life long term. David is next. Go ahead, sir.
Can you recommend some fundamental movement associated to the areas that you were pointing out as very important, as far as whether it's simple sit down neck rotations, something that you do fundamentally in the morning to kind of like just get things warmed up, and then be allowed.
So you want everybody to stop eating right now and do exercise. Is that what you want?
Oh, it wasn't special,
I can teach you this. It's not a special request.
not yet.
David is asking, is there's any special fundamental movement? My favorite one is called the YWTL. You don't have to stop eating. It's not the YMCA. You keep your thumb back. You want to keep your chin in. And you squeeze between your shoulder blades. So that's the Y. And then you go into a W. And then you go into a T. And then you go into an L. And then the whole time is you keep your chin in. This is probably the most important postural exercise that can be done for people because we spend most of our time in flexion. This young lady had a question.
Do you prescribe any herbal medicine or prescriptions? Like if you need what is it's called, tablet or metabolic. If somebody needs that, do you prescribe it?
Yes. So at our offices, we also have clinical nutrition, and we design clinical nutrition program for people as well. Yes. Some more questions. David's got one more question. He's taking the question of you that don't ask questions. Okay, go ahead, David. You got another chance. What's the next question?
The previous answer you just applied,
Yes, sir.
is that related to basically like a sun salutation?
Not sure what that is, but
One of the first primary movements of yoga, sun salutation.
I don't know anything about yoga. I think you should look at the sun coming up and you should look at the sun going down, but this is a specific postural exercise. One more questions before I exit the premise. Go ahead, sir.
So it seems like the atlas is a very important part of the body. A lot of information kind of flows through it.
Yes, sir.
What's one way that you can prevent the connection between the brain and the body through that?
So ask me that question again.
Like, so what can we do either through going to appointments or at home exercises to improve the connection at the head?
Doing postural exercise, what I just showed you earlier. So for most folks today in the United States of America, when you look at a person's postures, most people, they're like this. When you have forward head translation, right, it's called forward head carriage. There's a lot of studies on those, hundreds of them. But there's neurological studies that shows that when your head goes forward, it shuts down the information going from the brain to the rest of the body. It slows it down neurologically, right? So the best thing that you can do for a person long term in their lifetime is to preserve proper posture. However, now listen to me. This is really important. Now, this guy here, he looks like he's 12 too. But the older people here in this room, listen to me for a minute. Because there's always one or two. They're like, hey, Dr. Jean-Guy, can I just like do exercise at home? And here's my answer, the answer is no. Exercise will never, ever, ever replace a chiropractic adjustment. And the reason for that is because if you have already arthritis in your spine and you have spinal damage and you have degeneration in your spine, and exercise is not going to change that. This is really important. And most people don't know that. Now, I understand that you should take care of yourself, and I give people everything that they should be doing on their own. However, when you have damage to your spine and nervous system and you're moving through the phases of degeneration, when those bones are out of alignment and they get stuck in there, and a person can have that without any pain, there is nothing but a chiropractic specific adjustment in order to restore the proper function in those areas. Do you follow me? And I can't tell you how important that is, because when people have spinal degeneration, they're like, hey, can I just like sit down on the floor and touching my toes in the morning and I'll be fine? And the answer is no. Now, you can do whatever you want because you're in charge of your health. However, I'm just telling you that they do not self-correct. They just don't. Now, should you do your exercise? Yes. Should you eat good food? The answer is yes. Should you think well? The answer is yes. Should you read your Bible? The answer is yes. All of this is yes. As it relates to spinal health, when you have spinal degeneration and damage to your spine, when those bones are locked up and they're not moving, they will continue to get worse if you don't keep them moving. And here's the reason why. This is Dr. Tipio Vinham in 1986 Journal of Biomechanics. He says that they look under a microscope and they immobilize bones, and they want to find out how many days does it take before you start seeing arthritis in the spine. Okay, I'm going to tell you this again. Are you ready? They took bones in a spine. They used the sheep because the sheep just volunteer for the research. But the reason why they use the sheep is because they're very similar to us human beings. And they immobilize it and they look under a microscope. And do you know how much time does it take before you start seeing arthritis showing up? It takes less than 14 days. Less than 14 days when bones don't move properly. Do you follow me? Less than 14 days. After the age of 8 years old, how many of you here are older than 8? The only way that you can feed the disc is the cushion between the bones. The only way you can feed the disc is by a process called imbibition. And what that means in plain English is when you have proper mobility of those joints, of those bones moving properly. You follow me? Right? Most people don't know that. Most people don't want to hear that because at some point in time, somebody said to them, hey, if you were to get a chiropractic adjustment, you're never going to stop. And the truth is you can stop whenever you choose to. Like you can stop to eat food, you can stop to exercise, you can stop to pray, you can stop to read your Bible, you can stop whenever you want. But the reality of it is, on your health journey, those are the things from a lifestyle perspective that people can benefit long term. Does that make sense? Do you follow me? Go ahead, sir.
So here's one of my concerns. I was bitten by a dog a couple of summers ago, and I have nerve damage here in my hand. There's numbness, pain constantly, and like right now it's at its best because of the warm weather, but when it gets cold out, it gets very painful, and I can barely move my hand. So that was one thing I wanted to address. Is that something you can help with what we're doing?
Yeah, once we do the evaluation, we can tell you that more specifically.
You had talked about shoulders.
Yeah.
So I have an old sports injury, and this pops out of socket constantly, and it's very painful to put it back in. And I elected to not have the surgery on this, and I've never had the surgery there. I just continue to work out regularly.
Yeah.
I actually had a cast made specifically so I could bench press, not get the surgery. So
Well, you're hardcore, man.
I just actually regret it. It's been very painful.
Yeah. Yeah, once we do the evaluation, then we can be more
All right, I'm signed up.
in depth to tell you exactly what can be done. Okay, one more question and I'm running out. I've been watching all of you eating this bread here. I'm not sure you should do that. But it's okay. Just watching. Just kidding. One more question and then I'll be heading out. Now I want you to know that I didn't hear what he said. I'm just ignoring this. Now, every one of you here, you have probably specific problems that maybe you want to handle, right? I understand that Dr. Google probably already told you what you should do. And, sometimes I'm not telling you it might not help, but the idea of having a specific solution for the problems that you have, there's benefit to that. You follow me? Right? So every one of you here, I'm sure you have a story of the problems that you have, the problems you want to handle, and you should always be around people or the doctors that's going to have something that will be specific for you based on the problem you have and try to do the best they can to address that, right? Or at least to look to help you out to do that. And I can, with confidence, to tell you that, this is what I love about who we are and what we do as the doctors that we have and the people that work under this roof and our other office. They have, they do things with excellence and they have the clinical skills to be able to, to help people. And I think today in the world of medicine and in healthcare in general, not many people do that. And there's a lot of different reasons, but people don't really have the time to, care for people or to truly look into the problems that they have. Okay, so I lied to you. I got to go. I can run out while I'm answering one more questions, but thank you for being here. Do we have more food? Do we have more food? We're out of food. Are we out of bread? We should never be out of bread because, people they're like, I'm not going to touch it. This piece of paper is on your table. If you don't know how to operate your smartphone or you're like those QR code don't work for me, those ladies over there, they have black shirt. We have Gabrielle, Joy, and Kathy. They also can schedule your appointment, and they will give you your paperwork as well, so you can save some time. Is that fair? Also on the table, we have a bunch of classes coming up. You can come into any one of them. They're free classes. We do this every month at both of our offices. We'd love to have you. Bring your friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you.